It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We are a little more than 3 years away from the Los Angeles 2020 Olympics. Can you believe it's already getting this close? When the Olympics were originally announced, and I was doing sports on McIntyre in the morning, I started doing a bit where I was going to do a daily countdown, 3,785 days to the Olympics. And here's the thing, when you come up with a bit like that and you realize, okay, I have to commit to this for 10 years, it gets real old real fast. But it's starting to look real, and the preparation is starting to get going. And because Karen Bass decided to announce that the LA 2020 Olympics is a car-free Olympics, you're going to see local elected officials, the Metro Board, doing interviews every now and then for the next 3 years, telling you how great Metro is.
I love the bus driver.
I mean, we know Janice loves it. But Janice Hahn, the chair of the LA Metro Board.
That's your final warning.
And LA County Supervisor, she recently went on with NBC4 to specifically talk about how great public transit is in regard to the 2028 Olympics.
I was like,
So let's see what Janice Hahn had to say to Colleen Williams at NBC4.
The 2028 Summer Olympic Games are just about 3 years away. There is a big push to make public transportation the way to go during these games.
The public transportation in 2025 isn't the way to go to anywhere in Los Angeles. And even if this was a really well done public transit city, which is almost impossible, the sheer size of how big LA is, I don't really know how this is going to work if you're planning on going to more than one venue, because you've got stuff going on in Long Beach, and then you're going to somehow get to Pasadena, and the bus is going to make that quick? I don't know.
Last year, the LA region secured $900 million in federal funding from the Biden administration. $139 million of that.
How's that money being spent? Something to think about.
$139 million of that will go directly to improve public transportation for LA 28. Joining us live right now is LA County Supervisor and Chair of the Metro Board of Directors, Janice Hahn. Supervisor, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Colleen. It's good to be with you.
Okay, so she's doing this interview from the bathroom.
There are a lot of big events coming up. We're talking about
It's 2025, and I hear entire podcasts now that are done on Zoom, but they don't sound like this.
Hi, Colleen. It's good to be with you.
There are a lot of big events coming up. We're talking about the World Cup, another Super Bowl, NBA All-Star, LA 28. I can keep going, but what is being done right now to make sure that Metro is in shape, and what grade would you give at this point?
Okay, so the questions from Colleen Williams. What are you doing to make sure Metro is ready for this car-free Olympics that you're promoting? And on a scale, what would you grade Metro? Would you give it an A, a B, a C, a D, an F? Let's see what Janice has to say.
Well, we're very excited in Los Angeles to be hosting the 2028 Olympics. It's quite an honor and a thrill. We're hosting it for the United States of America, but Los Angeles will be ground zero for the Olympics. But as the chair of Metro, we are really looking forward to making it a transit-first Olympics.
Okay, by the way, you noticed already the verbiage is changing because Karen Bass said car-free Olympics and everybody freaked out, including the people who work at Metro. And now it's
forward to making it a transit-first Olympics.
Transit first. It's like housing first. Anything first usually is a little iffy. But yes, transit first. We want your first option to be get on the bus to get to that venue.
We want
you to experience the real Los Angeles, including the people that live on those buses and trains. And I can just feel it right now. Dave Sotero on the LA Metro Communications Department is crafting an email talking about how Andy Wang is complaining that people live on Metro. Well, they do.
We want people who come here, and we're expecting maybe 3 million visitors to come and take public transportation first to the venues, because these venues are going to be all over LA County. They're not just going to be in the city of LA. And we want people to maybe leave their cars at home so that we don't have a traffic mess for the 2028 Olympics. But we're already planning for.
Of course, what if you are trying to get around this city because the city doesn't shut down for 6 weeks because of the Olympics?
Mess for the 2028 Olympics. But we're already planning for that.
It's not like we have a whole bunch of subways. We have one, and it only goes through a small part. Most of what we have is light rail. Some of that light rail even goes through intersections. I don't know why it was designed like that. Heck, in Los Angeles, in the San Fernando Valley, we've got whatever they call the orange line now. I don't even want to know. The G line. That's just a busway that adds to traffic because you have 2 red lights now at Victory.
We're asking the federal government to help us out with some funding so that we can buy at least more buses so we can get people around smoothly and seamlessly during the Olympic and the Paralympic Games.
More buses. And I remember at one point, Karen Bass lamented, we don't probably have the funding to get all electric buses, which is a whole issue in itself that nobody seems to be talking about. LA Metro invested in electric buses. LAUSD has invested in electric buses. And electric buses are so heavy, they're damaging the roads way harder than regular buses would. It's one thing to have a whole bunch of electric cars, but an electric bus, you're talking way more tons than these roads are meant to handle.
We're asking the federal government to help us out with some funding so that we can buy at least more buses so we can get people around smoothly and seamlessly during the Olympic and the Paralympic Games.
I don't know how well that ask is going to go with the transportation secretary, the new transportation secretary. Hey, we need some money from the Fed so we can lease more buses because we think the best way to get around Los Angeles is on the bus. And we want our tourists to experience Los Angeles on a bus. Do you notice that she didn't answer part of the question? Specifically,
that Metro is in shape. And what grade would you give at this point?
She did not answer Colleen Williams' question. What grade would you give LA Metro right now?
I love the bus driver.
We know she loves the bus driver, but she did not grade Metro. So I guess we'll have to, I guess. Here's what I want to know. If you've ever ridden LA's Metro system, whether it is a bus, whether it is the subway, whether it is the light rail, based on your experience in recent history, with the way Los Angeles Metro is run, whether it's safety, whether it's convenience, anything that you remember about it, what would you give it as a letter grade? Would you give him an A? Janice Hahn didn't even answer what letter grade she'd give Metro.
I love the bus driver.
800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's a simple scale. What would you grade Metro? A through F are your options. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How would you grade the public transit system in Los Angeles? Now, Janice Hahn was asked by Colleen Williams, well, you know, you told us when you went to Paris for the Paris Olympics how jealous you were that they have a public transit system that actually functions.
Supervisor, I know that's the game plan. I talked with you after the Paris Olympics last August. Public transportation, you remember there, it ran smoothly. People felt safe. You admitted then we were a far cry from that. Can we get there?
Probably not.
Well, we have to get there. First of all, the Paris transportation system has been around for 150 years. So they have more trains than we do. They have a better system than we do. But we will get to a point, I believe, where we can move people in and around the venues. And Metro is also focusing on...
I do love how much of this focus is on the Olympics and not on, I don't know, we should be able to get people around this city efficiently every day of the week, every day of the year, because that's your job. But no, and when it comes to transportation for everyday life, Metro doesn't really care. But oh boy, we got to figure out these special events so we look good.
Things that won't take people into a venue, right? We've got fan zones. We're going to spread the events around to a lot of the cities. There's 88 cities in the county of Los Angeles. Everybody wants to be a part of this.
I wonder what fan event Cudahy is going to have.
So we're going to get fans enjoying games, watching things on big screens, celebrating outside of maybe the venues. But we are going to lease about 3,000 extra buses with the drivers to make sure that we can move people around. And my goal is...
it's going to clog up traffic? 3,000 more buses on the roads.
And my goal is to make it safe, convenient, and efficient, because if not, people won't be taking our public transportation during the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to do a really good job.
I don't know about that.
I was like,
When I think about how well Metro is going to do for the 2020 Olympics,
I was like,
But notice now we're 2 questions in, and Janice Hahn still hasn't answered Colleen Williams's original question.
Grade would you give at this point?
What grade would you give Metro? Janice Hahn won't answer. So if you'd like to answer for her, give me a call. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Give me a letter grade. How would you grade Los Angeles's public transit system? Now, of course, we can't do a Metro interview without talking about safety. And while there have been some improvements with the tap to exit program and some of the other pilots and everything they did at MacArthur Park, including the classical music and the blasting of the lights and to make sure that people aren't living in the station, something that should be system wide, there are still a lot of improvements. All the pilots that Janice Hahn talks about, including weapons detection, I don't know how you implement that on a bus system when we have so many violent incidents that we've reported on the buses, including just a few months ago, a hijacking.
Well, we have 3 years, and we keep talking about these big events. It's all well and good to get ready for these events, LA 28. But what about the people here, people who need transportation day to day, people who don't feel safe? What do you say to them?
What do you say, Janice? And again, Janice is probably one of the more competent people on that board, but that's not saying much.
I was like,
Well, you're absolutely right. And that's really what I do most of my days is think about the people that are transit dependent. These people are taking 2 and 3 buses every single day to school, to work, to hospital, to doctor's appointments. I've been riding the buses a lot more recently, and I see the people who are dependent on our system. So my goal is to make sure our buses arrive on time, they're clean.
Okay. There's 2 things that are not really happening.
And people get to where they need to go in a timely manner. But Colleen, I am committed to keeping weapons off of our system.
Okay. This is one of these things where I like the spirit of what she's saying. I think it sounds great. How do you implement this and how do you enforce this?
But Colleen, I am committed to keeping weapons off of our system. I think if you can't go to a Dodger game, if you can't go to the airport, if you can't even go to a concert without going through some kind of metal detection that keeps weapons out of those venues, then I don't believe you should be allowed to bring a gun, a lead pipe, a knife on our system. So I am working.
For someone bringing a lead pipe, that's a very specific thing. How many more things from Clue is she going to reference in this interview?
Hard
is the candlestick. Can you bring the candlestick to Metro?
Hard, and we're doing one pilot program. We're going to do another one that will begin to detect whether or not people have weapons. And then I don't think we should allow people to have weapons on our system. It has to be safe, particularly for women, right? There's a lot of women that ride our system, and some of them ride it late at night after they get off a job.
Including that security guard that got murdered at the North Hollywood station last year. You want to fact check me on that one, Dave Sotero? You can email me, Andy Wang.
It has to be safe, and it has to be safe for our bus drivers. They also need to be safe. So we are doing everything we can to think about the safety of our operators as well as our riders every single day.
And see, here's where I have a problem with Janice Hahn's idea, because you can implement a system like that, and the pilot program seems to have some positive results when it comes to the big metro stations, when it comes to Union Station, 7th Street, North Hollywood, Universal. You've got a lot of people going in a specific place, getting out of a specific place. So yes, you could implement a system where you've got to have security, making sure maybe it's going through metal detectors or whatever. They have those really sophisticated ones now at the Hollywood Bowl. But how do you enforce a no weapons policy on a bus? Do you have security at every bus stop? That's not feasible. The only person who's usually in charge on the bus is the bus driver. So is the bus driver the one enforcing the no weapons policy? Because let's say you have a metal detector and it goes off, and now the bus driver has to tell that person to get off. That person has a weapon and the bus driver doesn't. And if that person was trying to get on the bus with the weapon, they probably had a reason for it. And again, I don't know what the answer is for that, but I'll tell you, that's one of the reasons I would not feel safe on a Los Angeles bus. I've seen too many stories of people bringing weapons, doing incredibly violent things on our bus systems, and attacking our bus drivers. The barriers might be helping, but if the only person who can enforce a no weapons policy on a bus is a bus driver, I don't know how this works.
It has to be safe, and it has to be safe for our bus drivers. They also need to be safe. So we are doing everything we can to think about the safety of our operators as well as our riders every single day.
Supervisor Hahn, I'm going to invite you to come back in a couple of months, and we'll do a check on progress here. But thanks so much for your time this evening. We appreciate it.
Well, there's the latest progress report from Janice Hahn, who says LA is going to be totally ready for the 2020 Olympics, a transit-first Olympics. We're going to encourage people to ride Metro. We're going to lease out 3,000 more buses, and we're going to do everything we can to make this system safe. There was one question that Janice Hahn did not answer in that 5.5-minute interview.
And what grade would you give at this point?
She did not give Metro a grade. So you have an opportunity to do that right now. What grade would you give the LA Metro system? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. LA County Supervisor and Metro Chair Janice Hahn went on NBC4 with Colleen Williams to talk about how great the Metro system is going to be for the 2028 Olympics, and she was asked a very simple question.
And what grade would you give at this point?
And she did not answer that question. So this is your opportunity to answer it for her. What grade would you give LA's Metro system? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start off with Terry and Whittier. Tara, hello.
Hi. I gave myself a good year to try and work that Metro system. And the reason why I won't go on it is because I can't carry a weapon. The transferring over from the rail to the bus is the scary part. I witnessed purses being stolen, headphones being stolen, people fighting. And also, if you're wanting to wear shorts and you decide to sit down on a bus, more than likely you're going to get a rash. And I had to learn that the hard way. So if you plan on sitting down, don't wear shorts or a skirt because it's disgusting. Or what I saw a woman do is she takes a newspaper and she pats down the seats before she even sits down to make sure they're not wet. So there's so many incidences. Yeah, I had so many incidences that are so disgusting, and I don't know how they can fix any of that, especially when you come up from Hollywood and Highland and you have to walk to the bus on Sunset. That strip right there, good luck not stepping in feces or urine. It's sick.
I think you make a really good point. So, Tara, if you had to grade LA Metro, what would the grade be?
F. That's why I had to get a car. And that's why I drive 2 hours. I drive 2 hours to get to work and 2 hours to get home every day. And I will not ride that Metro ever again.
I totally feel you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It is so specific and has put a picture in my mind, and I don't want to ever live that. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Don't wear, they need a whole PSA campaign. Don't wear shorts on the LA Metro because you're going to get an infection. That's amazing. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Janice Hahn went on with Colleen Williams and when asked a simple question.
And what grade would you give at this point?
And she did not answer what grade she would give LA's metro system. So this is your opportunity to do it for her. How would you grade the LA metro system? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We get to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Janice Hahn, the chair of the LA Metro Board,
I was like,
was asked a very simple question by Colleen Williams when promoting Metro First Olympics 2028.
And what grade would you give at this point?
She did not answer that question. So it's time for you to answer it. What grade would you give LA Metro? 800-222-KABC. Let's start with Jay in Santa Monica. Jay, hello.
Yeah, I give it a D-. It's ruined Santa Monica, and it's probably making its way up to the Palisades, the new Palisades. I don't know.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Jay, because, you know, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation for a lot of things, but you can draw a pretty clear line to when they built the Expo line and had it go all the way up to Santa Monica, that 3rd Street Promenade went from one of the hottest shopping destinations to a giant homeless shelter.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we've heard, whether it's Santa Monica, Azusa, Long Beach, you never want to be at the end of the line of Metro, because that's where everyone ends up at night.
Drunk and obnoxious.
I think you're right. Thanks for the call, Jay. Appreciate it. He gave a D-. Let's go to Mark in L.A. Mark, hello.
Hey, Randy. How's it going?
Doing great.
All right. It gets a D-. I was in law enforcement in L.A., so I remember the city, how it used to be. It's not the metal detectors and the cages for the buses. They're skipping several steps. The problem is the population in the city of Los Angeles they're not as civilized as they used to be. It's become more of a dirty, broken down, and it's of course broke now, as was on the news yesterday, city of a lot of third world people. Nothing wrong with them, but the problem is that it's just a chained city. If you watch the old TV shows like Dragnet and Adam 12, and if you look through the acting, you can see how a city was run. It was clean. It was neat. People respected one another. There was more. I think it was a thriving, healthy city. And look at MacArthur Park. Now, the mayor drives past MacArthur Park every day on the way to City Hall from where her house is. Why in the past couple of years nothing was done? And you have a businessman like Norm Langer. He's not getting any results, not getting any help, and he's a big taxpayer. So it's not so much you need metal detectors, which can't be enforced. I'll tell you right now. There's nothing that they can do to keep weapons off the metro. There's too many people. And as a pilot also traveling around the world, there's just too many people. And I've taken subways, Buenos Aires, Paris, London. They're decent, quick, efficient pieces of transportation, and it's a nice experience. So until the voters decide that they want to replace the DEI Board of Supervisors and the DEI mayor, which she's going to be gone, mark my words, because her being in Ghana was her French Laundry moment. So she's done. But the city will get better. Hopefully it's within our lifetime. But it's not like it used to be. I'm sure you remember it also. It was a nice city. There's no more drive-ins. We used to go to Westwood all the time. We'd stay out all night. There was no problems. It's the influx of bad people and lack of incarceration. So armed robbery and a lot of these crimes, 2 years is not enough. And it's a revolving door. And a lot of these criminals are on the street. They ride the metro because it's free and they can panhandle. So it has nothing to do with metal detectors. It has to be the voters, one, put people in office that actually want to work and do a job, like mayors like Sam Yorty when he was the mayor. But it's not going to change until the voters say, I've had enough. So.
Well, hopefully they'll say that coming up the next election. Karen Bass up for election. I'm sure a couple of the supervisors will be up for election. And if people want to see a change in their government, it's got to start at the local level. Mark, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. And yeah, another thing you can correlate, not necessarily causate, but when did Metro start getting really bad? When we started letting everyone out of prison. When we decided to de facto legalize drugs with Prop 47. And we're clawing a little bit of that back with Prop 36, but it's going to be really, really, really hard to put that tube of toothpaste, to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Let's go to Robert in San Pedro. Robert, hello.
Hey, okay. I ride the J line from time to time from San Pedro to the Harbor Gateway Station, and that 950 is a very clean bus. So I would say, at least as far as that end goes, I'd give her an A. And
it's interesting, Robert. It's interesting because that's I think that's that's the line that Janice Hahn rides because that's where she lives in that area. I wonder if they're keeping that one extra clean because she rides that bus.
That very well may be. I couldn't really say, but as far as the weapons go, if you are able to concealed carry, do your Second Amendment thing, concealed carry, and it may cut some of this down. And also, thank you very much for your time, and I hope everybody enjoys their day.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Robert. Appreciate it. L.A. is super hesitant when it comes to the CCW permits, but maybe that is one of the reasons that you see so much more violence on this system as opposed to public transit in other cities. Maybe. Let's go to Morris in Hollywood. Morris, hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's interesting is that when I bought my home in Studio City in 1992, the Metro subway was not running over there in North Hollywood. Ever since they built the subway to North Hollywood, the transients get off the subway, vandalize all the cars, the neighborhood cars, the real estate, break-ins. I give the subway, the buses, an F-. It is dangerous to go on them buses. The police don't as a rule, do anything about this. But when I know I'm going to take the subway, and it's not too often, I have to empty my wallet, take out most of my credit cards, and maybe leave me as $10 in my wallet cash. They smoke rock cocaine on the subway. I've seen it, light it up. And the police don't do nothing. They stand on the subway with the monkey suit or uniform, and they don't get involved. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to hear about it. And it's, rider beware. It's just that dangerous. So I try not to ride it. The transit buses themselves, I ride very little of it. I hate to go on it. It's just too scary. And, again, the system is a failure. When Spaghetti was mayor, Garcetti, when he was mayor, I went to the police. They're standing on a platform. I said, when are you going to go ride the cars themselves? That's where the problem is. Oh, we don't go on the cars. And that's when they're playing the ghetto radios, panhandling, selling all kind of goods on the subways. It's dangerous. And,
it really is, Morris. Thanks so much for the call. Yeah, the amount of hassle that you get for sitting on those trains, whether it's the person that weirdly wants to sell you candy, the panhandling, or this might be the scariest. I was on a Red Line train once and someone was trying their stand-up comedy act. That was rough. And also, I do agree. I think every member of the Metro Board should do what Janice Hahn is doing.
I was like,
They should all have to write it all the time, full time. Get that real life experience. I'd say every member of the LA City Council as well, and the Board of Soups. Every elected. If you're going to jam this down our throat, you should have to write it. Then maybe we'll see some more improvements.
I love the bus driver.
Well, at least we know Janice loves the bus driver. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to more of your calls. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones. Go to Sean and Covina. Sean, hello.
Hello. I would rate it F- to infinity.
Now that's a low score.
Yes, and it deserves it too. I'll go over my reasons. I've wrote it for jury duty, and let's start with the subway. The subway is like a Cheech and Chong movie. The doors open, the smoke comes out, the meth and whatnot. It's basically like the movie Death Wish with Charles Bronson, a tunnel of death. Now we go over to the trams and streetcars, the murder train. Same thing there, except now they have stations like the Lake Station. It's on a freeway island. You either have a set of stairs or an elevator. If someone wigs out, you're trapped, and they throw you on the freeway or the tracks, like that one lady happened. So that is bad. And then we have perhaps the Metrolink train, the big train. That is somewhat safer. You have a conductor who tries to regulate and throw people off, so that's somewhat safer. And the buses, they're like the murder train. So if I can paraphrase Archie Bunker from the 70s, you need to go to all the law-abiding people that you see and just pass out guns and knives. Here you go. I hope you make it out. And when you leave the train, there's a guy to pick him up with a basket.
There you go, Sean. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Hey, look at this. 790 KABC welcomes Bullet for My Valentine at the YouTube Theater April 11th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We get to more of your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones. How would you grade LA Metro? Let's go to Paul in Saugus. Paul, hello.
Hey, Randy. How you doing tonight?
Doing great.
I have to grade it an F. I don't personally ride it, but my customers do, and I have bus drivers that come into my business, and they hate it. They're scared to drive the buses. They tell me horror stories. I'm sorry, but I don't think it's going to shine for the Olympics.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you on that one, Paul. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Dave in Whittier. Dave, hello.
Randy, you're totally spot on about inability to enforce with metal detectors. But I got the worst example to show you that Metro Board does not care one iota about what you think. Fernando Dutra, our Whittier City Councilman, he's on the Metro Board. And in 2022, after all these public meetings for the Whittier Gold Line Phase 2 to come to Whittier, the end of the line, I was in every one of those except two. Dutra, at the very end, there was a vote by the Metro staff where it should go, whether Whittier or Montebello Greenwood. They voted for Greenwood, Montebello, not Whittier, based on the EIR and Environmental Impact Report. Dutra, our Whittier mayor, the next day after that rejection, got in the media in Whittier Daily News and said he's very upset about that vote. Well, Dutra, city councilman with Mayor Vinatieri on our city council, he went and agreed with Vinatieri and voted for the Metro Gold Line to come to Whittier. They passed it in that second vote. The first vote was against. Metro staff voted against it. Also, I got a public records request answer as to whether Metro did a survey on whether Whittier residents wanted the Gold Line to come to Whittier. They didn't do a study asking our opinion, nor did the city. None.
No, of course not. No, they just drive this thing down our throats. Thanks so much for the call, Dave. And, you can't mention Fernando Dutra on this radio station without me having to remind you of Fernando Dutra's opinion on the flood of negative stories that were going on years ago about the violence on Metro.
I think we need to flood the market with some positive news whenever we get it. Because I guarantee it goes the other way whenever we get the bad news. So I think it's only fair that we spread the news.
Took Metro years to acknowledge the violence on their system, and people like Fernando Dutra said, well, we just have to flood the media with positive stories of how great it is, especially those ambassadors. Let's go to James in Azusa. James, hello.
Hey, hello, Randy. The reason she didn't answer that question, Randy, is because she couldn't lie, and she didn't want to get caught in a lie, and she couldn't tell the truth. So because there's no G, it's an F. And I can't wait to see the expression on someone's face from Europe when they get to the end of the line at Azusa and see a guy carrying a 10-inch long hunting knife beside his belt.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's out there. And unfortunately, they had to bring it to Azusa. Thanks so much for the call, James. Appreciate it. And as soon as we saw, again, correlation, not causation, but as soon as that Azusa line got put in there, the target started getting robbed left and right. Let's go to Sam in Lakewood. Sam, hello.
Randy Wang, hey, nice to talk with you, man. First-time caller, long-time listener. I used to listen to you with McIntyre in the morning.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, long time guy. Hey, so one of the first callers that was talking about sitting down on the metro, I'm just sitting over here laughing because 20 years ago when I was like a late teenager, I used to take the blue line on Del Amo all the way to Hollywood. And as I'm a drummer, I have drumsticks. I would practice on the seats, and when you would touch on the seats with a drumstick, there would be so much dust and debris that would come out, and me and my buddies used to laugh about it. So it's comical. So definitely an F-.
Definitely. Oh, wow. Thanks so much for the call, Sam. Appreciate it. And finally, Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, we're going to have lots of foreign visitors for the Olympics, right?
Yes.
Right. So here's an objective perspective. One of my Korean high school students called me to tell me about her exciting ride from Pasadena to downtown. And I see what she described as 3 pre-Olympic events. 1, fare evasion relay. She said nobody checked for any fares that people paid. Number 2, the ubiquitous urine stinkathon. She said the stench saturated the train the whole time. And 3, the unsynchronized scary schizoid. She said there was a homeless guy 10 feet away from her on the train.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks so much for the call, Bill. It's the News Blitz on Randy Wang with KBC.